Here they are. Evoluzion ST-1s federal tires. Now, this is a 285/30/19. As soon as you go semi-big rubber, this is a fairly big tire. The prices just go astronomical high. And this was a very cheap alternative to spending thousands of dollars on Michelin's or Pirelli P0s or extreme contacts. I spent for these four 285 width tires, I spent I think it was, I double checked, it was like $582 total, shipped to the house, which is very cheap for this size of a tire. The first thing you'll notice, and that I noticed, is these channels. These channels, I have big hands. These channels are about 3/4 an inch each, except for this little guy that's like a 1/2 inch. To me, that's like a lot of rubber that's missing. I really wish they would have kept it like this. But as far as how the tire performs, my friend actually runs these tires on his RCF Lexus, and he told me he has no idea why anybody would buy Michelin 4S's or anything else over these tires, because they're cheap and these tires are just as good. And I'll have to agree, driving on the street, zero complaints. I can only imagine how good they'll be in the water, but street driving, absolutely nothing. So to really test, because you spend all this money, like how good is the tire when it's a performance tire, right? So I took it to the racetrack, and well, this is what it did. So here I'm at the track, surrounded by some pretty fast cars, running, spending a lot more money on tires than I did, of course, with these Federal Evolutions. We're a lot cheaper than them. Now, a lot of people who don't, I guess, I don't know, they don't try tires, they don't run tires hard. They have this weird fascination. I've heard this from friends of mine that are into cars, but they don't really track drive or do anything, where they have this fascination that if you run cheap tires on the racetrack, they'll like straight up delaminate and you'll turn into a fiery ball. I mean, I've even seen videos like Smoking Tire or whatnot, that I remember he was on talking his podcast. He was driving on a car that it had Nankings. Now, I know what Nankings are. They're badass. Well, he didn't know what Nankings are, so he was scared to death to really push the car with those Nankings. He was like, oh, I don't know, they're kind of sketchy. And my thing was like, your car will do just fine. That car was just fine on those Nankings. But, so, how'd the car do? Well, these tires are street tires, and they felt like any other street tire I'd driven on. I've ran on the track from Pirelli P0 All Seasons to Pirelli P0 Summers to G-Force to even the cheapo Tisa FP8000s that are a Falcon design, and it felt right on par with any other tire I've ever ran. I cannot complain one iota. So where do you notice? Okay, hard braking. Yes, you notice you're on a street tire. I mean, the tires speak to you. It's one thing about it, is they tell you way in advance before you're gonna crash. You know, the way the tire starts to howl, and it's very predictable cornering. I cannot complain about the tire when it drops off, because the tire will overheat, because it's a street tire. Every street tire overheats. And the Evolution, it was pretty easy to predict, and when it started going, you just made some adjustments and you could keep on tracking. Yeah, the tire, for the money, you can't go wrong. Again, like we passed a Porsche right there, 911, and it had Michelin S4s on it, 4S's, I mean, S4 or 4S, I can't remember how it goes. which order. But yeah, pretty much the tires will perform. I mean, you can easily take these tires, daily drive them, no problem. Take them to the track on a weekend, do a little track day, and have a good time. I mean, they're not horrible at all. It's not like you take them to the track and you absolutely can't do anything. You can't drive. No, the tires are fine. Again, the weak points are braking and turning, and the tire will get hot. I mean, that's common. But that is nothing to say about the Evolution tire. That's pretty much any street tire that's designed pretty much for the street that you bring onto a racetrack, pushing it to way beyond the limits you'll ever see on the street. And that's the thing. You got to look at it like this. What I'm doing here is way more than what I ever do on a commute to work or screwing around in the canyon or anything like that. This exceeds it. So the tires are fine. They're totally fine. And the video I shot at the beginning of this, that was the tire after I took it to the track. And did you see that it was like falling apart or destroyed? No. I mean, it's just normal little wear from the tire actually melting, but very minor. Nothing to even worry about. Meaning the tires would last quite a while. I would not even worry one iota to ding it. I'm gonna run them on the track again, no problem. I have no fears with it. I bet it's pretty good in the rain. I haven't tried it in the rain, but I bet it's pretty good in the rain. I mean, just looking at the tire and how much those grooves must siphon or displace a ton of water. So I got a feeling the tire would be really good fighting hydroplane and whatnot. So if you don't want to spend a shit ton of money on a tire, these Federal Evolution ST-1s, not bad. I mean, I paid $580 something for it. Yeah, can't complain. Literally can't complain. I see why my buddy, when he switched to these Evolutions, and he's a hard driver with his RCF. I mean, he has a chronic drifting problem. The guy can't even go to the grocery store without drifting at least 3 corners and in the parking lot. So he eats his tires up pretty good. So after his first set that he destroyed when he bought the car, and he had the sticker shock of replacing them with P0s, when he switched to Federals, it was a nice, happy surprise because he loved the tires, and he told me he can't tell the difference. He literally cannot tell the difference, and I agree with him. I don't know what the difference is from my car on these tires versus my car on the Pirelli P0, regular P0s. I can't tell the difference. And compared to the P0 Neros, these tires are way better. Like, it's not even close. Now, the one thing is like, everybody asks me, like, well, they're so cheap, blah, blah, why are they so cheap? And my thing is, I try to explain to people is, like, Michelin, Pirelli, Dunlop, Goodyear, a lot of these top tire manufacturers, they're constantly testing and developing and have major ad budgets. So that costs a lot of money. And so they have to charge a lot of money for what they sell. And, to cover the costs of advertising, cover the costs of development costs, this, that, and the other. And Taiwan, which is, like, I swear, probably one of the tire capitals of the world, where a lot of these tires come out of, they make tires for main name brand tire companies. They have contracts with them. And I really think that they just don't spend the money on advertising. And another theory I have, and this is my personal theory, is that they kind of go with what works. I don't think they're really trying to lead the leading edge as far as developing new tire technologies and this and that, like the big tire makers are doing. I think they just kind of, what are they doing? Look at what they're doing, copy it, and just make it work. They just know it works and they just make it work. And they pass the savings on to you, where you can get a good tire, a performance tire, without breaking the bank And every time you think about, doing a burnout, you cry a little bit because, you got to replace the tires that much sooner. I mean, you literally, these are less than half price. Less than half price for a set of Michelin 4S's. So for every one tire you buy, you get 2 tires of these. So, yeah, to me, it's a win-win situation. I mean, unless you're a tire snob, which I kind of get a chuckle, quite a good chuckle, when I run these kind of tires and bring them to the track and play around. And then people will come look at the car and see them and just be totally dumbfounded. Like, what are those? How much do they cost? Like, because, a lot of people over tire their car for the track and their abilities, aka their abilities, know that. Where they could have easily saved a shit ton of money, paid for some more track days, ran these bad boys, and been totally happy, totally content, and and not spend so much money. So yeah, that's all I got. I said Evoluzion ST-1s. It's a win. Very good. Federal, I tell you, I've tried. This is the 3rd tire that they make that I've tried, and I've never been disappointed with any of them. All of them, I said, bang for buck. It's awesome. It's kind of like, driving it's like the Corvette. Corvette whoops up on supercars and Ferraris and stuff on the track. Lambos and Porsches for half the price. And yeah, that's what these tires are. They're like the Corvettes. So that's it. Thanks.